The distress signal had been crying into the void for 11 days. It came from Research Station Theta 7, a small outpost orbiting a planet that most species had forgotten existed. The signal was simple. It repeated the same message over and over. "Help us. We are dying. Please send rescue." Nobody came. Ambassador Velik sat in his comfortable chair on the consortium's central station. He was a tall creature with gray skin and large black eyes. His species had ruled the Galactic Council for 300 years. They were careful. They were patient. They did not take risks. His assistant floated beside him, reading from a data screen. The assistant's voice was flat and bored. "Sir, the signal from Theta 7 continues to broadcast. It has been 11 cycles now." Valix did not look up from his own work. "And standard protocol requires us to log all distress signals. I am logging it now." "Good. Is there anything else?" The assistant paused. "The station is in the Terran exclusion zone. The planet below is classified as a death world, Class 12. Valix finally looked up. His membrane, a thin layer of skin over his eyes, flickered with annoyance. "Then why are we discussing this? No ship in the consortium will enter that zone. The treaty forbids it. The planet is quarantined for good reason. The researchers there are consortium citizens, sir. Mostly from the outer colonies. A few humans as well. Humans." Velix made a sound that was something like a laugh. "Short-lived creatures from a poison world. They should not have been there in the first place. If they chose to study a death world, they accepted the consequences." The assistant said nothing. There was nothing to say. The rules were clear. The consortium did not risk ships or soldiers for those who put themselves in danger. It was logical. It was efficient. It kept the peace dot far away. The signal kept broadcasting. "Help us. We are dying. Please send rescue." And far away, in the darkness between stars, something heard. The ship was called the Hedda. It was old and ugly, and held together with repair patches and stubborn hope. Once it had been a mining vessel. Then it had been a cargo hauler. Now it was a salvage ship, crewed by 7 humans who had been declared legally dead after they traveled too far from known space. Captain Do-hyun stood on the bridge and listened to the signal. He was 43 years old, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. He had been a soldier once, then a traitor. Now he was something in between. The signal played through the speakers. The voice was human. A woman, probably young, probably scared. She spoke in the common galactic language, but Do-hyun could hear the Earth accent underneath. She was one of them, one of his people. "How far?" he asked. Yuna, his navigator, checked her screens. She was small and quick, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. 14 days at full burn. We would use almost all our fuel. Coming back would be difficult. Difficult or impossible. Yuna thought about it. Difficult. Not impossible. If we find fuel at the station, we could make it. Dawn nodded slowly. He looked around the bridge. Sibu was there, the engineer, a big man with hands that could fix anything. Myray was there too, their combat specialist, cleaning her rifle like she always did when she was thinking. And Jisang, the medic, quiet and calm, watching everything. "The consortium isn't coming," Do-hyun said. "You all heard the signal. 11 days and no response. They've written those people off." Myray looked up from her rifle. "How many survivors?" "The signal doesn't say. Could be 50. Could be 5. Could be none by now. And the planet? Class 12 death world. Toxic air. Heavy gravity. And something on the surface that's hunting them." Siwoo laughed. It was not a happy sound. "So it's a suicide mission. Maybe." Do-hyun did not deny it. He never lied to his crew. I'm not ordering anyone to go. This is a choice. We vote, like always. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Then Yuna spoke. I grew up on Mars Colony. When the dome cracked, nobody came for us either. We survived because some miners from the deep tunnels decided to help. They didn't have to. They just did. She turned back to her screens. I vote yes. Siwu shrugged his massive shoulders. I've been dead for 3 years, according to the records. Might as well make it mean something. Yes. Myray slid a fresh power cell into her rifle. Those things on the planet, whatever they are, they've never met humans before. I want to introduce them. Yes. Jizang simply nodded. Someone has to keep you all alive. Yes. Do-hyun felt something warm in his chest. Pride, maybe. Or something older. Something that had kept humans going since they first looked up at the stars and decided to reach for them. Then we go. He sat in the captain's chair. Yuna, plot the course. Siwu, get the engines ready for hard burn. Myray, check our weapons. Jizang, prepare the medical bay. We're gonna need it. The Heta turned in the darkness. Its old engines fired, pushing the ship forward, faster and faster. Behind them, the safe space of the galaxy grew small. Ahead, there was only the unknown dot in the consortium station. Ambassador Velix had already forgotten about the signal. It was no longer his concern. The researchers would die, and the galaxy would continue as it always had. Efficient. Logical. Cold Dot, he did not know that humans were coming. He did not know that everything was about to change. Dot in the void. The Heta flew toward the screaming signal like an arrow shot into the dark. 7 humans against the death world. 7 humans who refused to let strangers die alone. The galaxy had dismissed the call for help, but the Deathworlders had answered. Research Station Theta 7 was dying slowly. Ji Woo had stopped counting the days. She had stopped counting the dead too. There was no point anymore. The numbers only made the fear worse, and fear was something she could not afford. Not now. Not when 10 other people were depending on her to keep them alive. She sat in the core laboratory, her back against the cold metal wall. Around her, the other survivors huddled in small groups. Some were sleeping. Some were staring at nothing. Some were crying quietly, trying not to make too much noise. The creatures outside could hear everything. They had come from below the planet's surface, rising up through cracks in the ground that the research team had opened by accident. The scientists had been studying ancient ruins, trying to understand the civilization that had lived here thousands of years ago. They had found tunnels. They had found artifacts. And they had found the things that lived in the darkness. The creatures had no eyes. They did not need them. They hunted by heat and sound, tracking warm bodies through the station's corridors with terrible patience. They were fast. They were strong. Their skin was like armor, hard and black. And most weapons could not hurt them. In the first hour. They had killed 15 people. By the end of the first day. Only 20 remained. Now, after 11 days, there were 11. Taiwan sat by the communication terminal, watching the screen with empty eyes. He was young, maybe 25, with thin hands that shook when he thought no one was looking. His job had been to maintain contact with the consortium. Now his job was to watch the distress signal broadcast into nothing. Still no response, he said. His voice was hollow. 12 days now. Jiwoo nodded but did not speak. What was there to say? The consortium had abandoned them. She had known it would happen. Humans were not important to the Galactic Council. They were tolerated, sometimes studied, occasionally pitied. But they were not worth saving. Dr. Yumbi moved closer to Jiwoo. She was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and gentle eyes that had seen too much death in the past days. She had been a biologist, studying the planet's ecosystem. Now she was just another survivor. "The power cells are failing," Umbi whispered. "Maybe 3 more days. After that, the lights go out. The air recyclers stop." "I know. And the door. The creatures have been testing it. They're learning. They can feel where it's weakest." "I know." Umbi was quiet for a moment. Then she asked the question everyone was thinking. "What do we do?" Jiwoo did not have an answer. She was a scientist, not a soldier. She knew how to study rocks and analyze data and write reports. She did not know how to fight monsters in the dark, but she knew how to be stubborn. That was a human trait. The galaxy called it foolishness. Humans called it hope. She stood up and walked to the communication terminal. Taiwan looked at her with tired eyes as she sat down beside him. "Move over," she said. "I want to add something to the signal." She began to type. Her fingers were slow at first, then faster as the words came. "To any vessel receiving this transmission. We are 11 survivors. We have no weapons. We have no rescue coming. We have been abandoned by the consortium, and we accept that we will probably die here." She paused, thinking, then continued. "But I want the universe to know something. We did not come to this planet to cause harm. We came to learn. We came to understand. We found ruins of a civilization that died thousands of years ago, and we tried to discover their secrets. What we found was a warning. The beings who built this place, they did not die because of the creatures. They killed themselves. On purpose. They destroyed their own civilization to stop something from spreading. We do not know what. The data is incomplete. But whatever it was, they thought death was better than letting it escape. That information is stored in our research drives. If anyone comes here, if anyone finds this station, please take the data. The galaxy needs to know what happened here. Even if we are gone, our work can survive." She stopped typing. Her hands were shaking now. She took a breath and added one last line. "And if this is the end, let the record show that we did not go quietly. We fought. We survived as long as we could. We were humans, and we do not surrender." She sent the updated signal. The machine beeped softly as the new message began broadcasting, joining the endless cry for help that had been ignored for so long. Behind her, Yumbi was crying. Taiwan was staring at the floor. The other survivors were silent, listening. Then something scratched at the door. Everyone froze. The sound was soft at first, almost gentle. Metal against metal. Then it grew louder, more insistent. The creatures were back, testing the barricade again. "They're getting smarter," whispered a young man named Hyan. He was holding a broken pipe, the only weapon they had left. "Every time they come back, they try something new." The scratching stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then a sound came through the walls. A low, rumbling noise, like something very large moving through the corridors outside. They had heard that sound before. It meant the creatures were gathering, preparing, planning. Soon they would attack again. Jiwoo looked at her people. 11 survivors, exhausted and scared and running out of time. They had no weapons, no rescue, no hope. But far away, moving through the darkness of space, a ship called the Heta was burning toward them. 7 humans who had heard the signal. 7 humans who had heard the signal. 7 humans who had decided that strangers were worth saving. Jiwoo did not know they were coming. She had given up on rescue, but help was on its way. And when humans answer a call for help, they do not stop until they reach the ones who need them. The Heta dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a terrible sound. The old ship groaned and shook as it slowed down, its engines screaming in protest. Warning lights flashed across every screen. The hull had been pushed beyond its limits, and the metal was letting everyone know. Do-hyun gripped his chair as the ship stabilized. Report. Yuna's fingers flew across her controls. We made it. 11 days, 14 hours. New record for the old girl. She looked at her screens and her face grew serious. I have the station on sensors. It's still there. Still broadcasting life signs? Faint, very faint. Clustered in one section of the station. Maybe 10, maybe 15 people. Hard to tell from this distance. Sewoo's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. Captain, I don't want to alarm you, but we've got about 6 hours of fuel left. Maybe 7 if I do some very illegal things to the reactor. Do the illegal things, Do-hyun said. We'll need every minute. On the main screen, the planet appeared. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Dark purple clouds covered most of the surface, swirling in endless storms. The land below was black and red, volcanic and violent. Even from space, they could see lightning striking the ground. Thousands of bolts every second dot, and on the surface, something was moving. Millions of somethings. MyRA stood at the weapon station, studying the sensor data. Those are the creatures. They're everywhere. The whole planet is covered with them. She zoomed in on a section near the research station. They're climbing the support pillars, trying to reach the station from below. The station is in orbit, Jisang said, confused. How can they climb to it? The station is connected to the surface by 3 elevator shafts for bringing up equipment and samples. The creatures are using them like ladders. Do-hyun studied the images. The creatures were black and segmented, with too many legs and no visible eyes. They moved fast, swarming over each other in their rush to climb higher. Some fell. Most kept going. How long until they reached the station? Yuna calculated quickly. At their current speed, maybe 4 hours. 5 if we're lucky. Then we have 4 hours. Do-hyun opened the ship-wide channel. All hands, prepare for rescue operation. We're going in hard and fast. No mistakes, no delays. We grab the survivors and we leave. He turned to Myray. What do we know about these things? Weaknesses? Almost nothing. The research data says they hunt by heat and sound. No eyes. Their skin is thick, some kind of natural armor. Energy weapons are mostly useless unless you hit them in the joints. Mostly useless? Myray smiled. It was not a nice smile. I brought the heavy guns. The ones we saved for emergencies. This counts as an emergency. That's what I thought. Jisang was checking his medical supplies. How many survivors are we expecting? The signal said 11 when it updated. Could be fewer now. Could be more. We prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Sewoo's voice came back over the intercom. Captain, I've done the illegal things to the reactor. We've got 8 hours of fuel now, but if anything hits us wrong, we explode. Understood. Don't let anything hit us wrong. I'll do my best. The Hatta moved closer to the station. From this distance, they could see the damage. Sections of the outer hull were torn open. Lights flickered on and off. One of the docking ports was completely destroyed, hanging loose like a broken limb. The main airlock is still intact, Yuna reported. I can dock us there, but it'll be tight. The station is moving more than it should be. Something's wrong with its stabilizers. Can you do it? Yuna gave him a look. Can I dock a ship I've been flying for 5 years with a station that's falling apart while an army of monsters climbs toward us from a death world? She turned back to her controls. Yes, I can do it. Do-hyun felt a surge of pride. This was why he loved his crew. They didn't complain. They didn't hesitate. They just did what needed to be done. Myray, Jisang, you're with me. We go in, find the survivors, and bring them out. Sewoo, stay with the ship. If those things reach the station before we're back, I'll make sure they don't get to the airlock, Siwoo promised. I've got ideas. Once we're docked, keep the engines warm. The moment we're back on board, we leave. No waiting. Understood, Captain. The ship moved into position. The station grew larger and larger on the screen. Up close, it looked even worse. The creatures had already reached some of the lower sections. They could see movement through the broken windows, dark shapes crawling through corridors that should have been empty. The survivors are in the core laboratory, Yuna said. Deepest part of the station. Furthest from the climbing creatures. Then that's where we're going. The Heta connected with the station's airlock. There was a loud clang as the seals locked together. For a moment, everything was still. Then Do-hyun stood up. He checked his weapons. He looked at his crew. We're from Earth, he said. A Class 4 death world. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars and disasters that should have killed US 100 times over. We're still here because we don't know how to give up. He moved toward the airlock. Myray and Jisang followed. Those things out there, they've never met anything like us. Let's teach them why the galaxy calls us Deathworlders. The airlock opened. The rescue had begun. The station was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered red every few seconds, casting strange shadows on the walls. The air smelled wrong, like metal and something dead. Do-hyun moved forward slowly, his rifle raised. Behind him, Myray watched the rear, her heavy plasma gun ready. Jisang stayed between them, carrying his medical kit and a pistol he hoped he wouldn't need to use. Sensors show movement ahead, Do-hyun whispered. 200 meters. Multiple contacts. How many? Myray asked. Dozens. Maybe more. They kept walking. The corridor was long and straight, lined with doors that led to empty rooms. Equipment was scattered everywhere. Tables overturned. Papers on the floor. Signs of people running, fighting, dying. A body lay against one wall. It had been there for days. Do-hyun didn't look too closely. He couldn't afford to think about what had happened. Not yet. Not until the living were safe. They reached a junction where 4 corridors met. The creature's sound was louder here. Clicking, scratching, moving through the darkness like a living tide. Left corridor, Myray said. That's where the core laboratory is. That's also where most of the creatures are. Then we go through them. Do-hyun nodded. He pulled a small device from his belt. A flashbang designed to create light and noise, to confuse and blind. But these creatures hunted by heat and sound. Light might not affect them. New plan, he said. Myray, you have the thermal charges? She grinned. Always. Set them along the corridor behind us. When we reach the survivors, we blow the charges. The heat should draw the creatures away from us, give us a window to escape. And if it doesn't work, then we fight our way out. Myray began placing the charges. Small devices, no bigger than a fist, but capable of generating intense heat for several minutes. She stuck them to the walls, the ceiling, the floor. A trail of fire waiting to happen. They moved into the left corridor. The creatures found them almost immediately. The first one came from the ceiling, dropping down with its many legs reaching for Do-hyun's head. He ducked, rolled, and fired 3 shots into its joints. The creature screamed, a terrible high-pitched sound, and collapsed. More came. They poured from the side rooms, from the air vents, from the shadows themselves. Black shapes with armor like stone and claws like knives. Myray opened fire. Her plasma gun roared, sending bright green bolts of energy into the swarm. Where the bolts hit the joints, the creatures fell. Where they hit the armor, they left only scorch marks. Keep moving, Do-hyun shouted. Don't stop. They ran, fighting every step. Jisang fired his pistol at anything that got too close. A creature slashed his arm, drawing blood, but he kept going. There was no time to stop. No time to think. Ahead, a door. Heavy metal, sealed tight. The core laboratory. Survivors. Do-hyun yelled, pounding on the door. We're human. We're here to rescue you. Open the door. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. The creatures were closing in. Moray's gun was overheating. Jizang was bleeding. Then the door opened. Jiwoo stood there, her eyes wide with disbelief. Behind her, 10 other faces stared at the impossible sight. Humans, armed humans, living humans, get inside. Do-hyun pushed past her, pulling Mireille and Jisang with him. The door slammed shut just as the creatures reached it. The room was small and crowded. 11 survivors, all of them exhausted, all of them staring at the newcomers like they were ghosts. You came, Jiwoo whispered. You actually came. No time for that now. Do-hyun was already checking the room's other exits. How many of you can run? All of us. We'll crawl if we have to. Good. We have a ship docked at the main airlock, 300 meters from here. The corridor is full of those things, but we've set thermal charges to draw them away. Taiwan stepped forward. Thermal charges won't work for long. The creatures learn fast. They'll figure out it's a trick. Then we'll be gone before they do. Mireille was reloading her weapon. Everyone stays behind me. When we move, we don't stop. If you fall, someone picks you up. If you see a creature, you scream. Don't try to fight. Just scream and let us handle it. The survivors nodded. They were scared, but they were ready. The 11 days of terror had burned away. Everything except the will to survive. Do-hyun opened the door. The corridor outside was chaos. Creatures swarmed everywhere, but the thermal charges were burning now, filling the air with heat. The creatures were confused, drawn toward the false warmth, giving the humans a narrow path. Now, move! They ran. 17 people sprinting through a station that was falling apart around them. The creatures screamed and clicked and chased, but the humans kept going. Mireille fired at anything that got too close. Do-hyun led the way, his rifle never stopping. A creature grabbed Yumbi. She screamed. Jizang turned, fired, hit the creature's leg joint. It let go. Yumbi stumbled but kept running. Another creature dropped from above, landing on a young man named Hyan. Mireille shot it twice, 3 times, until it stopped moving. Hyan scrambled up, his face covered in ichor, and kept running. The airlock was ahead. The Hedda was waiting. Siwoo. Do-hyun shouted into his communicator. Open the airlock. We're coming in hot. Ready and waiting, Captain. They burst through the airlock. 17 people crowding into the ship's entrance corridor. Siwoo slammed. The outer door shut just as the first creatures reached it. Unigo! The Hiti's engines roared. The ship pulled away from the station, breaking the docking seal, tearing free. Behind them, the station was covered in creatures now, a black tide swallowing everything. Then the station's reactor failed. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. A ball of white light expanding outward, vaporizing everything in its path. The creatures, the station, all of it gone in a single moment. In the ship's corridor. The survivors sat on the floor, breathing hard, crying, laughing, unable to believe they were alive. Jiwoo looked at Do-hyun. Why? She asked. The consortium abandoned us. You had nothing to gain. Why did you come? Do-hyun sat down beside her. He was tired. His arms hurt. He could feel bruises forming everywhere. Where I come from, he said, we don't leave people behind. Doesn't matter who you are. You called for help. We answered. Jiwoo felt tears running down her face. Not tears of fear this time. Tears of something else. Something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Thank you, she whispered. Do-hyun nodded and closed his eyes. They were safe. For now. The galaxy would learn about this. About the humans who answered when everyone else refused. About the Deathworlders who came from the darkness, But that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, they rested. The message arrived at the consortium headquarters 14 days after the rescue. Ambassador Velix was in his office when his assistant brought the transmission. He was drinking his morning nutrients, feeling pleased with himself. The quarterly reports were excellent. Trade was up. Conflicts were down. The galaxy was running smoothly, exactly as it should. Then he read the message, and his morning became much less pleasant. The transmission came from a ship called the HFY. Human registry, though the records showed it as lost years ago. The crew was listed as legally dead. And yet, here was their message, clear and strong, broadcasting across official channels. Velix read it 3 times. Each time, his skin grew paler. This is the salvage vessel HFY, human crew, unknown current registration. We are transmitting to inform the Galactic Consortium that we have completed a rescue operation at Research Station Theta 7. 11 survivors have been recovered. All personnel are stable and receiving medical care. All research data from the station has been preserved and will be delivered to the appropriate scientific authorities. We note that the distress signal from Theta 7 broadcast for 12 standard cycles before we arrived. We note that no consortium vessel responded. We note that the survivors included citizens of consortium member worlds who were left to die. Velix's membrane flickered. His assistant stood silently, waiting. The message continued. Your records classify humans as a minor species. Our homeworld, Earth, is listed as a Class 4 death world. We are described as short-lived, fragile, and of limited importance to galactic affairs. We wish to correct some misunderstandings. Earth is not a gentle world. It is a planet of fire and ice, of storms and earthquakes, of predators and diseases that have been trying to kill us since we first existed. We did not survive by being weak. We survived by being stubborn, by refusing to die, by fighting for each other when no one else would. The creatures on the Death World, where Theta 7 was stationed, were classified as unstoppable apex predators. Your scientists believed nothing could survive against them. They were wrong. Humans survived. We fought those creatures and we won, because that is what we do. We fight. We survive. We do not abandon our own. And here is the truth the consortium must understand. Everyone is our own. We do not calculate whether a rescue is worth the cost. We do not weigh lives against resources. When someone calls for help, we answer. It does not matter if they are human or not. It does not matter if they are strangers. Pain is pain. Fear is fear. A cry for help is a cry for help. We answer. So this is our message to the Galactic Consortium. We are watching. From the dark spaces between stars, from the edges of explored space, from the places you have forgotten or ignored, we are watching. And when you fail to answer, we will. The next time you debate whether to send a rescue ship, remember us. Remember that somewhere in the darkness, humans are listening. And we do not forgive those who let innocents die. This is the HFY. This is humanity. Remember our name. End transmission. Velix sat in silence for a long time. His assistant did not move. Finally, the ambassador spoke. This message. How many people have received it? It was broadcast on open channels, sir. Everyone with a receiver has heard it. Every species. Every world. Every station. Can we suppress it? Claim it was false? No, sir. The survivors have already given interviews. The research data has been verified. The rescue happened exactly as described. Velix put down his nutrient drink. He had lost his appetite. Somewhere across the galaxy, other ambassadors were reading the same message. Other leaders were having the same conversations. The humans had done something impossible, and now everyone knew. For 300 years, The consortium had operated on simple principles: logic, efficiency, self-preservation. They did not take risks. They did not sacrifice for others. It was the rational way to run a civilization, but humans were not rational. They were stubborn and brave and foolish and kind. They ran toward danger instead of away. They fought for strangers. They refused to accept that some people were not worth saving. It was madness. It was beautiful, and it was spreading. In the weeks that followed, things began to change. When distress signals came from distant stations, ships were sent. When colonies asked for help, help arrived. Not always, not everywhere, but more than before. Much more than before. No one admitted why. No one spoke about the human message. But everyone knew. On a small ship moving through the darkness between stars, Captain Do-hyun received reports of these changes. He smiled but said nothing. The HFY was running low on fuel again, and there was always another job to do. Another corner of space to explore. Ji-woo had stayed with them. So had Taiwan and Yumbi. They had nowhere else to go, and the HFY had become something like home. A ship of survivors, held together by hope and stubborn refusal to give up. One night, Ji-woo found Do-hyun on the bridge, staring out at the stars. "Do you think it will last?" she asked. "The changes. The rescues. Do you think the galaxy will keep caring?" Do-hyun thought about it. Maybe not. Fear fades. Memory fades. Eventually, they'll go back to the way things were. Then what was the point? He turned to look at her. His eyes were tired but warm. The point is that 11 people are alive who would have died. The point is that for a little while, the galaxy remembered what it means to be brave. The point is that we tried. He looked back at the stars. And besides, if they forget, we'll remind them. As many times as it takes. That's what humans do. We keep going. We keep fighting. We keep caring about people even when it costs us everything. Ji-woo smiled. It was the first real smile she had felt in a long time. Outside, the universe stretched on forever, cold and vast and full of dangers. But the HFY flew through it anyway, a tiny ship carrying a stubborn crew who believed in something bigger than themselves. Somewhere out there, another distress signal was broadcasting. Another voice crying for help. And somewhere out there, humans were listening. They always would be.